without further ado, Brother Haney, won't you give him a hand clap?
Thank you. Hold it at the bottom. Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Well, before I get all involved in this, I wanted to not forget to tell you what a beautiful church this is. My mouth is still not good and closed yet. I couldn't believe it. We drove up, and the inside is just, everything is like a mansion or a castle or royal place. Thank the Lord for your beautiful church. My dad started in the auto parts business in 1949. I was born in 1953, so we came up working long hours, hard hours. We didn't golf, we didn't fish, we didn't hunt. We sold car parts. But I'm telling you, we had a blast doing it. We had some blowout days. At the end of the day, we'd be like a rag doll, just wiped plumb out. In fact, I have had to just lay down in the concrete floor for a while and tell my wife going home I'll be there when I can get up. But I had a blast doing it. It was a wonderful, wonderful life to do. Bishop asked me, he says, I want you to talk to the class. This has been about 20-something years ago. And I said, well, I'm just an auto parts guy. I sold a few tracts of land. And I don't put the G on the end of running. And he says, what I want you to do, Brother Haney, he said, just anything that somebody told you 50 years ago that has really served you well, I want you to tell them that. Or anything that you wish someone would have told you back then, tell them that. I said, well, I can do that. So I went home, made some notes, and the rest is history. In the auto parts business, I had a little saying. It was, if you do your best, you'll never have to look back and say, I should have done better. But you couldn't do better. You'd done your best. And I thought I was doing my best. I mean, I was giving it the long hours while everybody else was going to the lake and playing with their kids. I was working, wasn't I? And working hard. Come home wiped out. I thought I was doing my best, calling on my customers and doing all the things I thought was right. And then a man came by from the Dale Carnegie course. And he said, you need to take this course. I said, well, how much is it? Or what's it about? So he told me how much it was and how expensive it was. I said, you want me to give you that much of my hard-earned money just for me to come over there and listen to y'all tell me all that stuff? Well, it was the best money, besides giving to the Lord, I guess, that I've ever spent, and my marriage license. And about the same time that he told me that, a man named T. Richard Smith, who would be Brother Tim Adams' father-in-law, had given me an old, you remember those old 33 LP albums, long play? Everybody, you're nodding heads. Okay, well that's what this song was called, Dynamics of Supervision. I had never heard any self-help or motivational or any kind of help like that. All I knew was just the hard work and long hours. Do without sacrifice, live beneath your means, invest your money, be careful. This one sheet pretty much sums up this goal outline, everything that came from that dynamics of supervision. Now, the Dale Carnegie course helped me to get from where I was to my goal. This next set of papers you have is called a personal financial statement. I want to tell you why I put that in there. On the back of all my masters, I have a highlighter, and I put a big old M on there. And that's so that it won't ever get used to write on. I use it, I run a copy of it, I fill one out for my spiritual goal, I fill one out for financial goals, physical goals, social, family, personal, whatever you can think of. These personal financial statements let me know where I was starting from, because sometimes you may think you're moving ahead. You may, at the end of the year, be further behind than you were at the beginning of the year if you don't have anything to measure it by. I'm brutally honest on there. I don't put something on there worth more than it says. I put down accurate figures, and then the next year, and you can do it every 6 months. I've done that for a little while. But at the end of the year, or if you start on the 20th day of September, next September 20th when you go through, or it may be easier for you to do it when you do your income tax or whatever. You go through it and fill those same things out. You can say, hey, look at this, baby. Look what we've done. Of course, she may want to go shopping. You might want to just keep it to yourself. These goals, we all have them already, but they're just kind of up there in Netherland. They're not really hard goals. If somebody said, what are your goals? Well, give me a couple hours and I'll tell you. I got to think on that. So this classifying what area of life it's going to be, clarify, write it out. The problem written out, according to that dynamics of supervision, which I can't hardly say, is half solved. What it's done, it's made you use that brain to figure out exactly what it is that you want and to write out your goal, a clarified, written out goal, and then crystallize it. Remove all the vague generalities. I want to do better. I'm going to really do this. You put dates, amounts, places, measurable numbers on there, the best you can. You don't say, I plan to or I hope to. You say, I will do this by a certain date. Number 4, the evaluation. What will this mean to me if I achieve this goal? Why is that important? We need to see the goal at the end of the rainbow. If we're going to be in there sweating and doing without, we need to see what it's going to mean in the end. That's the carrot. Of course, the stick will take care of itself. Why is this important to me? You need to put that on there. Organize steps and actions to be taken. That's where a lot of goals never make it to second base. The goal's written down, but they never say, this is what I'm going to do. The doing is where you get there. A, B, and C. And then D is the honey. Immediate action within the next 24 hours. That means it's not just talk anymore. It's going to the next stage. Number 6, visualize. Don't skip this step. It's important. Get by yourself, close your eyes, when the kids are not making a lot of racket, and see yourself already in possession of it. Whatever this sincere burning desire. And through this meditation, you're mentally enjoying its benefits right now. And then number 7, we don't want to just have our head in the cloud. We want to list the obstacles that are between us and reaching that goal. In the auto parts store, back about 1968, I'm guessing, we had an employee named Bill. And he had a son named Bill Jr. We called him Billy. Billy was married to Bridget. Well, Billy had some mental issues, and Bridget did too. And so they lived with Bill. And one day they decided while Bill was at work, they were going to California from Sherwood, Arkansas. We got good geography people in here. So they backed their car in the carport, raised the trunk, or turtle hole we used to call it, and they threw all the clothes they were going to take to California in the trunk, slammed her down, jumped in the car, and took off for California from Sherwood. When they got to Memphis, they turned south. And when they got to Mobile, Alabama, they turned west. And when they got to Shreveport, Louisiana, the motor burned up. So Billy calls his daddy. He says, Daddy, Bridget and I were on our way to California, and we got as far as Shreveport, and the motor's locked up. And so Bill says, well, I'll be down there in about 3 or 4 hours to get you. And Billy said, oh, no, Daddy, it takes a long time to get to Shreveport. Well, why does that story fit in here? It's because if you don't know where you want to go, and you don't know where you are starting from, you may wind up at Memphis and Mobile and Shreveport instead of getting to where you want to go. So we need to know where we want to get to. These first 6 pages, I just kind of talked. But on the first page at the bottom, it says we can't expect to always receive perfect results. Sometimes you read these books and they have all these results in there where this man made all this money or everything got back to his health and whatever all in his life, which the Lord does do that. But a lot of these things that are described in these books that happen in people's lives, they may be true. And he did say he borrowed most of those principles from the Bible. But a lot of these rules and tools of life that he got out of the Bible, such as I put down sowing, which is to me is trying. You say, I'm not real good at memorizing people's names. Time I get from here to there, it's gone. That's not the issue. The issue is the TRY. Give it some more effort. Keep on trying. Write it on a scrap of paper. You meet somebody that comes in this door, his name's Stephen Haney, you write down Haney. If you can think of anything that would make you, you know what? For your name, I'll tell you what I give them on mine. I say, it's just like honey, but it's Haney. That helps them not misspell it, but I've given them a little mental picture. And if I've got enough time, that's 7 silly words, but it works. And the next time they see me, they'll say, Haney. You know what they thought of? They didn't think of Haney, they thought of honey. They may call me honey one this time. If it's a woman, don't get jealous there. But, and I tell them sometimes if I've got enough time, I say, just think of a glass, a jar, brimming full, about to run over, full of honey. And it's even full, even with honey. Stephen Haney. Even honey sounds like Stephen Haney. Anything you can give them. Jim King, you know what he could give them, and so did Troy Prince. Their names are easy to do with. But some of them are a little harder. But I didn't come here to give you the quick and easy way to success. The truth is, success is hard. And it takes time. Sometimes decades of long hours of hard work. And risk. The way the United States capitalistic system is set up, regardless of what they tell you, you risk your money. And that's the stick again. When you don't feel like getting out of bed, you got a migraine, or it's pouring down rain, or everybody else is going to Branson, and you say, well, I don't think I want to go show land today. But you've got that big note coming due, and your house is signed up for the collateral on it. So you say, you know what, I believe I'll go show that land. Give me some aspirin to pray for me or something. So it's what goads us into these never-ending seeking of fresh new ideas and self-improvement principles, making the painful sacrifices, and that risk is an essential part of that driving force. One thing I want to talk about just a little bit before I get going very far, and that is our footing. Anybody ever watch them pour a footing, concrete footing? They've got it dug and they're pouring a footing. And then comes that foundation, blocks are coming out of the ground. You know, sometimes in that footing, they tell me the bigger the rock, the harder the concrete. And if it's got a rebar in there, wire, and it just gets stronger. You got to be really careful about what you let get poured into your footing. Now, Brother Adams, when he's preaching, brother, there's some foundation being poured into your children and poured into your mind, into the footing. And you can build on those things. They're from the Word of God. And the books that you read, if you've got honesty, you know, if you're not honest, the rest of your footing won't really matter. You can build a big wall on it, but it's going to crack and lean and break over. And you've got to have trust. You know who has the control knob about whether or not you trust me? Now, you can show me honor. You can show me respect. You can open the door for me, say, yes, sir, Brother Haney. You could throw your coat down over a mud puddle and let me step across it. Showing respect. You've got control over that. But you have zero control over how much you respect me. I've got 100% control of that knob. I can destroy the respect, the confidence, the trust, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't muster it up. Or if I deserve it and earn it, you can't deny it of me. You say, you know what? He sure makes me mad, but I give him one thing. He's a good man. He does right. I never have seen him take a crooked step. But boy, he does so-and-so. Well, our foundation is one of the things we're going to talk about here today. Number one would be our devotion and faithfulness to God in our living. How we worship the Lord, how we pay our tithes and offerings, keeps God's hand on our life. There's so many times, I could have written this many more pages of times when just right out of the woodwork, it seemed like, the Lord reached in there and just turned situations around. And I'm saying, Lord, I can see you doing it for Brother Adams or Brother Holmes or somebody that's, but for Stephen Haney, you did that? For me? And because I know all my faults, but man, he has been so good. Malachi 3, bring all the tithes of the storehouse and be meat in my house. And then verse 11, he says, I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes. I didn't even think about that feature, that benefit, that bonus. I'm just going along paying my tithes and offering. And all of a sudden, a devourer comes up against me. I'm talking about somebody that's trying to do me harm. And you know what? The Lord took care of it. I mean, Tricia can get up here and take the microphone and tell you. He says, I'll rebuke the devourer for your sake if you bring me all these tithes in the storehouse. And they won't destroy the fruits of your ground, neither shall your vine cast her fruit before the time in the field, saith the Lord. I'm not going to preach long. And B, we talked about honesty, trust, respect, and confidence. We control the knobs. C is dependability. In the parts store, it didn't matter how good of a parts man I had. If he was a crackerjack, sharp mind, knew all the part numbers by heart. Everybody wanted him to wait on him. But if I didn't know if he's going to be there or not, what good is that? You depend on him to open the store and there's nobody there to open it? Or you're depending on him to be there to help wait on customers? D, treat others as we would be treated. That's easy to say. And it's easy in a lot of situations, but the ones that count are the ones where it's kind of tough. And as much as you've done it to the least of these, my brethren, you've done it unto me. Matthew 25. Luke 6, as you would that men should do to you, do you even also unto them. Likewise. E, prioritize and crystallize each of our goals. We talked about that on that goal sheet. F is obey the law. So if you wind up in penitentiary, all these others are not going to help you. Or if the IRS gets you and you've been cheating. G, keep complete. Oh man, this is my sugar stick. Complete, accurate records of everything. And I do. She'll testify to it. And organize them so you can access them quickly. And if you do that, when I get through with my tax return, it's ready for an audit right then. If a land customer calls up, Mr. Haney, I think you're wrong on such and such. I said, well, let me send you a picture of what I've got. And you tell me if you've got anything more. That does about three things. One is it nips that argument right then because they don't have any more than that. Number two, they don't call me up like that again because they say, you know what, they don't need me trying to bluff him. He's going to have the stuff and he'll have it fast. No, I'm not bragging. I'm just recommending. Organize so you can access them quickly. This right here probably used to be a broom handle. And somebody cut a foot of it off and painted it red and white and sold it to me on the internet as a relay runner's baton for $6. And on there it says, how well we do is determined not just by our gifts and grit, but also by social background, networks, family connections, and powerfully by how well our parents did. Life is not merely a foot race, but a relay race. Now this is business and spiritual. It matters a lot how much headway the previous runner has made when he hands you the baton. So you may feel like, well, you know what? They didn't hand me much. I feel like mine handed me a good, solid, established life to live for the Lord. And they gave me a galloping horse in the parts business. So they handed it off to me. I told Brother Hunter Haley, I said, my fear was always that I would take that galloping horse. My mom and dad used to chop and pick. And I said, I was always afraid that I would take it from the galloping horse back to the chopping and the picking. I couldn't sustain what they had built it up to. But we can concentrate on how are we going to hand it off. It was handed at us in good shape. This old message has been handed to us. Amen. True. So we're going to determine to do the same. Prioritize our balance. Upon these foundation ingredients, we can build the following success principles of Brother and Sister Martin, Bishop, Pastor Holmes, Brother Adams. Mr. Dale Carnegie, Jim Rohn, our own parents, and others that we'll be referencing here tonight. And they'll stand the adverse pressures and endure the test of time. If we're dishonest, if we're unfaithful, if we're greedy, if we're a fake, our foundation's got a defect, and like I said a while ago, the wall is not going to stand. Let's move on over here to the Carnegie book. Well, I will throw one more thing before I get to Carnegie. I've got written down, nothing can fuel a business person's fire as much as a spouse's supportive attitude and encouraging words. And nothing can extinguish a business person's fire as quickly and completely as just a few of a spouse's negative or hurtful words and our attitude. So if we can't support and encourage each other, at least don't extinguish. Just don't say anything. Number one in the how to win friends and influence people is don't criticize, condemn, or complain. He said an unwise person can do this, and most unwise people do. It causes resentment. Sometimes it lasts a lifetime. It causes defensive justification and wounds pride. And y'all are not going to have that page there, so you don't even need to look at it. The copy lady left these pages off, but I'll get them to you. When we have these emotions, it immediately puts us at a bad disadvantage. When we criticize, condemn, and complain. It takes character and self-control to be understanding and forgiving. The Bible said, a soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. The tongue of the wise uses knowledge aright, but the mouth of fools poureth out foolishness. Sometimes we do have to, I don't know if you want to call it criticize, but we have to correct somebody. It just happens if you're in business, or a neighbor, or a government official, or even your spouse. But how we do it is what makes the difference. If we want to gather honey, we don't kick over the beehive. It's a great mistake if we think in business, well, we're the boss, we own this outfit, so we can bluster our orders without any regard for anybody else's feelings. And that might work if you don't mind having the lowest grade of employees. But if you want to have the top people waiting on your customers, you're going to have to do it a little bit different. I've even had people to say, I'd like to be in business for myself so that I would have anyone else to boss me. Well, anybody now that's laughing, they're in business those. We were subordinate to everybody. At the parts store, my name was on the sign out there. I was subordinate to the customers. I don't need to explain that. They're the customer. I was subordinate to the suppliers. We needed them more than they needed us. They could cut us off and not even know they'd ever lost us. And we were subordinate to our employees because they were the best. The Lord gave me the best. And you don't treat quality men just any old way. So I got bossed from everybody at work. And then I went home for more. A crown jewel principle that I received from my brother-in-law, Jimmy Shelby, came when I had an employee named Mike, and he was doing several unsatisfactory things. And I was telling my brother-in-law Jimmy about it, and he said, Steve, you need to also document his good. I said, his good? What in the world do you mean document his good? He said, yes, otherwise it's going to sound like you're just gunning for him. If you have included his positive things, you'll sound fair. You'll add to your own credibility. Wow, what a gold nugget. And what easy to do. Just include his good. So I hadn't corrected Mike yet about the bad situation. And I really did appreciate Mike. He had a lot of good things and points and attributes. So whenever I got back to the store, I started in on those things. And you know what? If I was flattering him or a fake, he would see right through it. I'd do more damage than I would do good. Flattery always fails, and it should. But I was sincere. I was honest. I did appreciate what he'd done. He had done a lot of things over and above the call of duty that didn't require any pay for, work through his lunch hour, work overtime if we had customers lined up. So I started in telling him about how good he had been to me. And I said, well, we got this. I didn't say but. I said it to him, but I didn't say it to him. Don't ever say but. Just say, and we've got this situation here, and we need to deal with it. And then I ended up with his good again. Well, it didn't taste real good, but it tasted better sandwiched between those two good slices than it would have if I'd just hit him with it like I was going to. Jimmy Craddock was another good employee, so I did him the same way. I should have told him what all the good he'd done, but I got on to him. He didn't quit. He kept on being just as good as he ever had been. But he left me a little note on my desk. And I remember, I wish I'd have saved the original note. This has been about 40-something years ago. 46, I think I wrote down. Yeah, 46 years considered. And he said, I had negated all of his good. I had a good dictionary to see what that meant. I didn't know, but I never have forgotten. It means I'd canceled out or wiped out all the good things he did. And I said, Jimmy, you were right. I forgot to tell you. And really, shame on me. You know what? You know what he's hungry for? People are starving for this. They want it more than just about than they want food, unless they haven't eaten in several days. They want to be appreciated. They want to be made to feel important. They want to be praised. I don't mean the flattery. I'm talking about the sincere. And you know, if you already do appreciate them, you already are thankful for them, and we keep it to ourselves, shame on us. At least go in there and tell them about it. They're starving for it. They're not getting it. And if you're a supplier and you give it to a customer, he's not getting it from your competitors. Well, maybe he will if you don't. Number 2, give honest and sincere appreciation. That's exactly what we're talking about. Zig Ziglar became wealthy by telling audiences that they could get everything they want out of life if they will give enough other people what they want. He was exactly right. But we assume we don't know what they want out of life. What do they want? And how can we find out? We do know what they want. They want honest, sincere appreciation, and they want to feel important. So if they've been important in our life, we do appreciate them. Then we do have what they want, and if we neglect to convey it to them, we're not using this good principle. They crave for it. The rare individual who satisfies this heart hunger will hold people in the palm of their hand, and even the undertaker will be sad when we die. We wouldn't let our own child go hungry if we had food to give them, so we need to share this with them. Underneath everyone's hard shell is someone who wants honest, sincere appreciation. It arouses enthusiasm. We ought to always be anxious to praise people. It's powerful. I borrowed over $1 million from the area banks when I started buying these properties. And each Christmas, I would order from my Aunt Mary. She's a big cook. 3 of her large, delicious coconut cakes. She made 24 packs of delicious homemade Loopers hot tamales and some delicious chili. And I'd make my Christmas route from bank to bank to bank to the vice president each one. I'd deliver these outstanding foods. They couldn't buy them at Walmart or Kroger. They only came from one place, their customer, Stephen Haney. And their families had come to rely on getting these food that they couldn't get anywhere else. I wasn't trying to set them up for another loan. These were just small tokens and words of my deep appreciation for all they'd done for me. Even if they never loaned me another penny. They had changed my life. I'm telling you, they changed my life. They put me over the hump. All of a sudden, you know, I wasn't having to outrun the bill collector. They were charging me 11% at the time, but they could have turned me down on the loan application. And I truly did appreciate the loans to me. In fact, I couldn't believe that they would loan that much money to me. They didn't know me like I knew me. But let's say I had brought these tokens of appreciation in there at a different time. I'm going somewhere. And rather than thanking them for the great difference they'd made in my life, I said, here's these gifts, these cakes and tamales and chili, and I need to borrow this much money. See, it's kind of got a bad taste already just hearing about it. It would have had a bad effect. The best opportunity to express appreciation is when you need nothing. Daniel was facing the lion's den. He didn't have to begin at that late date and let God know how much he appreciated the good things he'd done in his life. Daniel 6:10, when Daniel knew the writing was signed, he went into his house. His windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he knelt on his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as he did aforetime. He had already been doing it. One line in a Dottie Rambo song says, I didn't come here, Lord, to ask you for anything. Just come to say thanks. Now, when I did need some more money, I kind of did expect them to not forget about all those great coconut cakes and hot tamales and chili. Sometimes I'd be waiting in the teller's line at the bank to make a deposit, and through the glass I'd see the man that loaned me a bunch of money sitting over there helping somebody else, and I'd catch his eye. I'd say, you did it. You're the man. You know. And you know what? It's got to make it feel good. I did change his life. I remember his words. I loaned him all that money. Glad he's making his payment. I'd give him a big old smile. Man, a smile is something else. You know, it doesn't cost anything. You can change somebody's whole day sometime. One time I was sitting at church, and there was a little old boy sitting in front of us. He looked like about, I don't know, a little over a year old. He was looking me over real stern, just really giving me a good looking over. And then all of a sudden, now he didn't just give me the camera, you know, that pose like that. Man, his eyes lit up like he was so glad that I was there. Just such a friendly smile. And your eyes and your smile can tell somebody, I like you, I'm glad you're here. I enjoy being around you. Just a smile. And that's one of the chapters in the book. I wasn't trying to set them up for another loan. They were just sincere appreciation. In fact, one minister said that birthdays and Christmas are the only times of the year that it's legal to bribe. It's not considered poor taste to send politicians and judges and other authorities a heartfelt card of appreciation for their true friendship, this you got to really mean it now, and for their sincere help through the years, and accompanied by some homemade bread or a favorite cake or some best cookies, maybe some Pentecostal peanut brittle. And then, if you do get in trouble and you wind up needing some help, you've already kind of buttered the toast there. This is just me talking. What all did Jesus give to that 10th leper in Luke 17? He had lost more than his health. In my mind, I can just hear him saying, now this is me writing what he said. Lord, thank you for letting me walk back into my home again. He couldn't go home and live where I thought I would never get to again. Lord, thank you for allowing me to sweetly embrace my wife and hug my children, not just once more, but from now on. Thank you for restoring to me so many of the pleasures that I had at one time taken for granted, such as fellowship and my friends. Thank you for letting me return to my job that will enable me to provide again for my family. That gives you a good feeling, doesn't it? They had lost that. He couldn't provide for his family outside, hollering unclean and throwing the scraps over the wall. All of these, Lord, I had lost with no hope of ever regaining them in the future. But now, because you have spoken these words on my behalf, I can enjoy them every moment of every day for the rest of my life. So when Jesus said, go show yourself to the priest, he gave them all so much more than just their health being restored. He gave them their lives back, their precious family, home, friends, self-esteem. Later, when he returned, Jesus said, were there not 10 cleansed? Where are the 9? Well, they all knew Jesus had done all these things to them. Perhaps they just assumed, surely he knows how much that means to me. But this is the one that made it into God's book. And 2,000 years later, he's still being written about on this page right here to talk about tonight. Because he came back and said, thank you. May we always be the one that it's said about us. Even if the rest may never express any gratitude for the help extended them. But that's Stephen Haney. Now, he won't forget to be thankful. And he'll let you know how much he appreciates the help you receive from you. me hand this to Tricia. I don't know how to kill it. Most of my life, I didn't even have those things. They all had a cord on them. So let us be the ones that's always thankful. What a reputation. The principle has been unbelievably effective with not only my bankers, but my customers, my suppliers, my accountants, the dozer men, the surveyors, the waterline hydraulic engineers. Brother Martin described them as all the good people in my life. He didn't just say it, but he got gifts for all of us. All I did was buy land from him. He would wholesale land. I mean, I needed him more than he needed me, but he was appreciating me. Okay. I can read it or tell it. Which one do I do? A group of church ladies decided at their regular meeting to ask their husbands to list 6 things about them that they could work toward improving. One lady's husband asked her if he could have another day to think about his choices. The following morning, on his way to work, he stopped by the local florist, purchased 6 red roses to be delivered with an attached card which read, "My dear wife, I have very sincerely considered your request, and I have concluded that there is nothing about you that I would change. I love you exactly the way that you are." Now the wife reported this at the next meeting, and the other wives were amazed. Their husbands were informed of this husband's sincere affection for his wife and his acknowledgement of her appreciation. Number 3, arousing the other person an eager want, without manipulating only for our benefit. He who can do this has the world with him. Who cannot walks a lonely way. My wife tell you my weakness is ice cream. And I like strawberry. And if you scoop out froze hard strawberry into a big tall jelly glass and then pour milk over it and stir it up, I don't have a very sweet tooth. The ice cream is just too sweet for me. But when you mix that in there, one thing, the milk can't stand the 10-degree ice cream, so it gets chunky. And it dilutes that sugar down. And I go to sleep and sleep like that little baby's doing right there. So it was so good, every night I was doing that, I started doing me 2 big tall jelly glasses of it. And then, she's here back, can test me if I get it wrong, I went to 3 glasses of it. Every night, 3 big tall jelly glasses full of strawberry ice cream. Mash it down and mix it up. And I got to 4 glasses. She had started having to buy me the next inch size pants. And then she went and bought me some next inch size pants. And when I think we got up to about the 4th graduation, I said, don't bring home any more strawberry ice cream. In fact, I told her no ice cream, period. I was a teetotaler. Well, I told all that to say when I go fishing, as good as that strawberry ice cream is, those fish, they don't care for it. I mean, I don't care for a cricket or a worm or a minnow or catfish Charlie. But that's what I put on that hook, because it's not about what I want, it's about what they want. So if I'm wanting to persuade somebody to make a decision, I don't need to be thinking about what I want. I need to be thinking about what do they want. Now, I can't climb up in their head and figure out what they want. So the only way I can find out is with these right here. I watch and I listen. When I'm talking to them, I don't do all the talking. I just kind of prompt them to where they'll talk. And then I can find out what it is that they want, and I can arouse in them an eager want. We were looking to buy a house. This has been a lot of years ago. And we didn't have enough money to buy this house, but I wanted it anyway. And the people that were selling it began to tell me they had already bought some property. And they were going to build a country home, he described it. They were going to dig a fish pond, and they were going to build a pony barn, and they were going to have a big garden, and on and on and on. I had the whole picture. So I went to him and I said, you know what? I said, we only have this much money, but if you'll take it, you can go ahead. And I started describing all those things in detail that he had laid out for me. And I just painted the picture the best that I could. I didn't leave out anything. He said, let us have a little discussion. And they took the offer and we moved into the house. But as long as I was thinking about what I wanted, he was not interested in what I wanted. So I aroused in him an eager want. I wasn't trying to manipulate him. I was being sincere. I was just pointing out how if he took my money, then he would be able to get what he wanted. So if you have the ability to get the other person's point of view and see things from their angle, then you'll be able to do that. Number 4, become genuinely interested in other people. That's really what I want to talk about on those sincere relationships. When you have customers that cry on your shoulder, customers that lean on you, confide in you, you're moving beyond just a customer relationship. You're moving into a relationship that it's going to take something to break that. And the same thing on church or a neighbor. In fact of the matter, the world's greatest friend winner, he has never read a book on psychology. But when you get within about 10 feet of him, you know what he'll do? He'll start wagging his tail. And if you pat him, he'll almost jump out of his skin. Just if you show him, just to show you how much he likes you. He doesn't want to sell you any insurance, doesn't need your vote, doesn't need you to help him move. He just genuinely loves you because you're you. No ulterior motives. You can make 1,000 more friends being interested in other people than you can trying to get others interested in you. You must genuinely like people. I loved my customers and my superiors. It wasn't just a manipulative or fake, but I really did love them. And the lower the person might be on life's ladder, all the more we should graciously give of our interest in them and our love for them. I was telling Brother Haley that, I'll tell you about the parts store that's going to open up. I can't remember since I told him. They told me that they were going to open up a parts store in Sherwood. I've already told it on here? Okay. Well, this store had 600 locations already. And I just had one. So they were Goliath and I was David. And they went around to all my customers and told them they were planning on opening up a store right there by me. And my customers told them. So I wasn't there when it was said, so I just take their word for it. When I went around calling on them, they said, they told us they were planning on opening a store. We told them they were welcome to open the store, and if you didn't have it or couldn't get it, we would buy from them. But we were going to, if you could get it, we weren't going to quit buying from you. We were going to stay with Steve. They didn't open the store there. What kept them from there, it's probably the Lord. It was the relationships. Maybe the Lord did it through the relationships. When we answer our phone, our hello should convey how pleased we are that people call. Even if you don't know who they are, you can answer the phone with a smile. You try that. Just experiment and see if what I'm saying is true. When you pick up the phone and you say, hello, you won't say, hello, with a smile on. You're going to answer friendly and nice. It just works. And if there are names on caller ID, which we didn't used to have, say, hey, Brother Stephen Haney, how can I help you? And that leads me to another place. On people calling, complaining on land, as soon as I can, I try to get this line in there. If they're upset or hostile or whatever, I say, how can I help you? How can you get mad with that? How can I help you? Well, it just takes a minute to get the phone back. Well, if you could just do so and so, I said, well, we'll do that. You will? Yeah. And I've kept it all on a friendly tone. I didn't get in there, I didn't feel like it. I was really right and they were wrong. I wanted to kind of throw a punch. But I let that other prevail, thank God. We should never cease working on developing our genuine interest in others. Why? Because we're so, say cotton picking, interested in ourselves. I can't help it. It's just in me. My vacation, my friends, my wife, my church, my this, my that, my lumbago or wherever lumbago is. That's not what they want to hear about. They want to tell about their vacation, their job, where they used to live. So if we can work on that. Number 5, heartwarming smile. We've talked about that a little bit. Simplest way to make a good first impression is your genuine, sincere, heartfelt smile. It's got to be real. You can't give them one of those pose smiles. And first impressions are powerful things. These principles, if you just use one, you say, you know what, I didn't get anything out of that about that, getting interested in other people. I didn't get anything about learning people's names. I didn't get anything else about, but I got that smile. Just that one will work. It'll stand alone. But if you compound it with that name and smiling and being interested in them and the rest of these principles, you're talking about nuclear atomic power. It just explodes. People who smile do everything more effectively, and they raise happier children. One employer said that he preferred to hire an applicant who had not finished elementary school, but had a pleasant, friendly smile, than a doctor of philosophy with a somber face. Now, y'all got a copy in there on Bill Steinhardt writing about not smiling. I'm not going to give up my minute, so you can just read it in your own time. Remember that to a person, his name or her name is the sweetest, most important sound in any language. We could choose to ignore this tool, and say it's just too much trouble. But if we do forget a customer's name, it's a needless, bad disadvantage that we have given to our competitor. I call them the rules of life and the tools of life. Some of the rules of life, a lot of them, there's no flexibility in it. It's just a cold, hard rule. And these tools of life are kind of these principles that you can use. Just to illustrate, there was a man named Mr. James B. Duke. Anybody ever heard of James B. Duke? Maybe you'll remember him after this. In 1924, that's almost 100 years now, he donated $40 million to Trinity College in Durham, North Carolina. $1924, $40 million of them, almost 100 years ago. Can you guess the name of that university? We don't need to guess the reason it's been called Duke University. And you can come over to Arkansas and see the Jackson Stevens building of University of Arkansas Medical Center or the Bud Walton Arena. People, they want to hear that name. And we need to remember this. The main thing is to try. When do you practice a musical instrument? When it's church time and the service is going? Nope. You practice at home in your bedroom somewhere where it's not going to matter if you mess up. That's the time you practice these principles. Practice on each other. Practice on her. And you practice on him. And y'all practice on me and me on you. Then whenever it really matters and it's time to hit that high note, then you'll have it. When a visitor comes to church, as soon as possible, when we hear their name, get a little slip of paper, scrap, and write down their name. Writing it down multiplies the chances that you're going to remember it. And then if you can, write as many associations as possible. Who brought them, their family connection, any substance of your brief conversation, any facts about their family, their business, hobby, political opinions. Include any facial or physical features. And eventually you won't need those crutches. When they return to the church and you greet them with a sincere, "Hello, Mr. James Duke. This is great. So good to see you back again." Without physically doing so, we have put our arms around this person. In his or her mind, they're saying to themselves, "They remember my name. Just met me one time." We paid them a very subtle and tasteful compliment. Put their name in your cell phone, subline it with an association, such as what we talked about. Okay, a little confession time here. We've got 6 minutes. I kept forgetting Mother's Day flowers, birthday flowers. I kept forgetting. So I got this idea, and I went down to the florist and I said, "Here's your birthday, here's Mother's Day, here's this day, this day, this day, this day. So you take care of sending her flowers, nice flowers. Send me the bill. You just make sure that it doesn't get forgotten." Well, she somehow figured out what was going on, and she says, "Stephen, it ain't really about the flowers. It was about you thinking of the thought. That's what I was looking for." And when you do it like that, you don't even think about it. And I didn't. I was thinking about how to pay the bills and, about stuff that I thought had to be thought about. She said, "No, it's not the flowers. It's the thinking about." So, when we remember somebody's name, it's the thought that you went to the trouble. Number 7, be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. You want a recipe tonight? I'll give you all a quick recipe. How to make people shun you, how to make them laugh at you behind your back, and even despise you. You ready for it? Never listen to them for very long, anybody. And just talk incessantly about yourself, ourselves. And if we have an idea while the other person is talking, don't wait for them to finish, but just bust right in and interrupt in the middle of their sentence. One comedian said the one thing that always irritated him was when people just kept right on talking when he was interrupted. Encourage them to talk about themselves. They're more interested in themselves than they are whatever. When they're talking, be listening. Be listening with your ears and your mind and your heart and your eyes. What they're saying. Consider their thoughts while they're talking. Don't let your mind wander and race ahead to your own next good story. Well, I asked a guy one time, I said, I can only imagine what the early days was of getting this business off the ground. I thought, well, that ought to do it. But he said, yeah, that didn't expose much. I said, the competition then must have been brutal. Brother, that did it. I mean, he opened up and went and told. So you don't have to do much. You just got to find out. Like I got a friend, you can drive from Memphis back to Little Rock in dead silence. But if you say, you know what? I haven't seen a motorcycle. Brother, the conversation is carried. You just got to find out what people are interested in. They'll talk. Be prepared. Their response could be as short as good, but even if this might lead us to pursue another area of their life, we definitely do not start going into a 5-minute description of our own. Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. Brother Martin, I told you about him, the good people in his life. Let's skip that. You can read all these. These stories are all in here. Recognize the other person's importance. Do it sincerely. When somebody buys a tract of land, I'm not trying to be fake. I'm being sincere. They just got through putting out their down payment of their money. They should be able to be made to feel like a landowner. So I tell them, I said, you know, you could stop back by Walmart and get you about 3 of those no trespassing signs. There might be a little shrub out there that a kid might run over with a four-wheeler. It's open range now, anybody can run over it. Well, they may only have $2 left of their name between them, but brother there headed straight to Walmart to get those 3 no trespassing signs because they can post their property and you can't come on it without their permission. They've paid the down payment. Just lets them feel a little important. Not trying to get anything. They've already bought the land. Number 9, the only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. That's easy to say, but how do you do that? First, we promise to think over their ideas and study them carefully. We'll get this back there. They're not expecting this. You can read through them there in your own time. These are really good points of how not to race ahead and mess up a situation, but consider their points. And if it has merit in it, if there's, it's just a wonderful way to deal with people. One thing, a reason that we want to do our best in how we do with our finances, how we do with these human relations principles, it's worth reading. There's some excellent points in there. And in fact, I reread it. And that's why we reread the Bible. This old mind, it just loses it. And you got to go back and read it again and again. We don't have to tell these children. They are watching us. If we spend the rent money on balloons and pop them, they see that. If we are hit and miss on church, they see that. We're training them whether we're saying any words or not. They're watching. So we must do our best to teach them how to live, how to work, how to deal with their money. I'm going to read you this little poem, and I'm closing. Walk a little plainer, Daddy, said a little child one day. I'm following in your footsteps, and I want to know the way. Sometimes your steps are very plain, and sometimes they are hard to see. So walk a little plainer, Daddy, for you are leading me. I know that once you walked this way many years ago, and what you did along the way, I'd really like to know. For sometimes I am tempted and don't know what to do. So walk a little plainer, Daddy, for I must follow you. Sometime when I'm all grown up, you are like I want to be. Then I will know another little child who will want to follow me. And I would want to lead them right and help them to be true. So walk a little plainer, Daddy, for we must follow you. God bless you all.
Wow, that was awesome. Thank you.